recreational purposes in the state of California. But hopefully, after listening to my 3 main points, you'll agree that it should, in fact, be legalized. My first main point discusses the economic benefits. Democratic State Assemblyman Tom Gamiano introduced legislation that would legalize weed and allow the state to tax and regulate sales. Tax collectors estimate that this bill would bring in about $1.3 billion a year in revenue. The Marijuana Control Regulation Act, as this bill is called, would give California control of pot in a manner similar to that of alcohol, while prohibiting citizens under a certain age to purchase. All this can be found on timemagazine.com. For example of regulation, since 2003, the Belgian government has allowed for possession of marijuana so long as the carrier is over the age of 18, does not smoke in the presence of minors, and does not smoke in public. Obviously, people will smoke marijuana regardless if it's legal or not, but the difference, however, is safety. I'm sure we could all agree that it'd be much safer and better if our citizens purchased marijuana from a legitimate smoke shop as opposed to some drug dealer in an alley. This brings me to my second point, social benefits. Aside from the insane amount of revenue we'd be getting, we'd be saving an annual approximate $19 billion. This $19 billion is the total amount that we spend on local, state, and federal purchases trying to adhere to the law. Basically, in a nutshell, we spend $19 billion trying to keep people from smoking a plant. This can be found on Reason Magazine 2003. Legalizationofmarijuana.com states that since 1990, nearly 5.9 million Americans have been arrested for possession. These are tax-paying citizens who have been treated like criminals simply because they chose marijuana as a recreational drug of choice. Also, socially, it'd be very hypocritical to not legalize marijuana, considering, according to SacredChoice.org, people tend to feel greater dependence and greater withdrawal symptoms to caffeine, nicotine, and alcohol than they do compared to marijuana. And yet caffeine, nicotine, and alcohol are all legal, whereas marijuana is not. They also experience greater levels of intoxication with alcohol compared to marijuana, and yet marijuana is still illegal. Clearly, the government has spent too much time and too much money trying to keep society from smoking weed. It's time to capitalize on the actions of the public instead of trying to fight it. Which brings me to my final point, which is that illegality is obviously not working. According to drugreporter.org, prohibiting the use of marijuana has failed. The government has used criminal penalties to deter marijuana use, and yet it is used by 25 million people every single year. Therefore, making it illegal has done absolutely nothing to better the situation, whereas making it legal would. In conclusion, legalizing marijuana is the only logical decision to not only assist California out of its current deficit, but to prevent future injustices such as criminalizing innocent people whose only crime is consuming a plant. Mary Jane, pot, weed, dope, the reefer, whatever you want to call it, marijuana should be legalized. Thank you.